Let's talk about the greatest common factor, or the greatest common divisor, as it's called in the Redwood's pre-algebra textbook. We're looking at a few examples here. Very important topic, so I want to take time to dedicate to this particular aspect. So basically, what we're going to do is we will take 76 and 52, and we'll take each one of these and we'll prime factorize. So for 76, you break it down into 2 times 38, right? So you take 76, you divide it by 2, and then you divide 38 by 2, you get 2 and 19. Now keep in mind, 19 is a prime number. Remember, I made that short list there. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, right? So it's good to know those first set of prime numbers. So we know that 76 is 2 times 2 times 19. How about 52? You take 52, you break it down, you get 2 and 26. You break 26 down, you get 2 and 13. So 52 is 2 times 2 times 13. So we've prime factorized each of those numbers. So notice is that if you're struggling with the current topic, or if you have any concerns, what you do now is you go back and look at prime factorization so you get comfortable with that. And so you prime factorize each of those numbers, and then let's circle the ones they have in common, right? So they have a 2 and a 2 here, right? So take each one of those. So 2 and a 2. And 19 and 13, they do not have in common, correct? So we're not going to do anything with these two because they don't have that in common. So therefore, what they have in common is they have this 2, so that's the 2 here, and they have this 2, and that's another 2. And you multiply them together and you get 4. So that means that 76 and 52 actually have their greatest common divisor is 4, because that's what they both have in common. But notice that you take 1, 2 to represent this 2 and this 2. You use 1, 2 to represent that, and this 2 and this 2, you have this 2 representing it, right? It's like they need to send one representative. So basically that's how we get 2 times 2 equal 4, and that is the greatest common divisor or greatest common factor. So keep that in mind. Let's try another example. Another example would be, well, let's look at one that might come look more interesting and more straightforward. 10 and 40. So for 10 and 40, you can prime factorize. I recommend it, but there are times where, to be efficient, you just look at 10, you look at 40, and you think, wait, 10 itself goes into 40 as a whole. So that means the greatest common divisor is actually 10, because 10 is common between 10 and 40, right? So there's nothing more than 10, right, that can be a factor of 10. So you can prime factorize it. You get 2 times 5, and then you get 2 times 2 times 5, right? So we have 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. I apologize. 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. So now you have this equals 40. This equals 10. You circle these 2 and you circle these 2. So notice that the 2 times 5, right? This 2 represents the 2 and the 2 here. And then you have 5 and 5, and that is brought to just 1 5 here. So 2 times 5 is 10. So notice that even before I did the prime factorization route, I knew that the GCD or the GCF was 10. How? Because 10 is a factor of 10. It's the biggest factor of 10. And it's also a factor of 40. So it has to be the biggest factor that is common between 10 and 40. The same thing would happen if I asked what is the GCF of 2 and 4. You just say 2, because 2 is the biggest factor of 2, and it's a common factor of, it has a factor, it's a factor of 4. So therefore, 2 is the greatest common factor. Remember, when you say greatest common factor, is the biggest factor that the two numbers have in common. That's how it works. Let's look at another example. So imagine you have 16 and 56. Again, it's up to you. I recommend, yes, prime factorization is good, but there are times you might know what they have in common. But let's break it down. We have 2 and 8. We have 2 and 4. We have 2 and 2. So 16 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 56 is, you take 2, 2 goes into that. You have 28, right? So 28 plus 28 is 56. You break this down, you get 2 times 14, 2 times 7. That's 2 times 2 times 2 times 7. This is common, this is common, this is common. So you bring down 1, 2 to represent those. You bring down 1, 2 to represent those, and you bring down 1, 2. So 2 times 2 times 2, and your answer is 8. So the greatest common factor of 16 and 56 is 8. Okay, very good. This topic will be very important when you're simplifying fractions. That's part of why I'm taking time to add this extra video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.